Let's begin by removing this plastic cover. It's really simple. You use pull, but be careful. The plastic is really cheap and it can easily crack. Now we have these screws holding the radio and the AC controls. Let's go ahead and remove all of those. For removing the radio, you first have to take the AC control out. The connections for the radio are really simple. You have to push on that tab and pull the cable. And this is the interface that I'm gonna be using. If you don't want to use the interface, you could have power problems, but it is something that you can bypass. I will be explaining that later on. Also, if you don't use the interface, you could lose your warning sounds. This is the one from the radio. This is the one from the interface adapter. So let's go ahead and connect these two together. Basically, all we have to do is color match all this. To mount your new radio, you will need some adapter, some kind of adapter, and this is the one that I'm gonna be using. Typically, the adapter comes with the front face, the right side, and the left side. Pay attention to those, you don't want to mix them. And this is the type of camera that I'm gonna be using. The connection plug for this camera at the back of the radio is the yellow plug. I'm gonna be running the camera cable under the dash, of course, then I will go under the carpet, and then using the side panel, as you can see, I removed that. It has some clips, that's all you have to do. Pull it and you will be able to take it out, and then I will be running the cable all the way to the back of the driver seat. And then you will see this plug, you will see a plug that is under the carpet. That plug, the way that I take it out was I went under the car and push it, and then you have that hole that I'm gonna be using to run that cable. Now to give the camera the signal to turn on, we need to connect to the tail light. Let's go ahead and start removing it. Just to those screws and then pull it. That's all you have to do. Now is the time to mount the camera. In my case, the type of camera that I have is this one, so I'm gonna be mounting it. Connect the cable from the camera to the cable from the radio. That's what I'm doing right here. Now I'm running that cable up to the tail light, cleaning the cables, make everything ready. Use a blade, use any utility knife to cut that plastic, so this way you can expose those cables that we're gonna be connecting to. And I'm gonna be using this type of connectors. I don't know the name, I forgot the name, but this is the ones that I'm gonna be using. And remember, we're gonna connect to the backup light. That's the light that we want to get the signal from. And as you can see, the way I connected those cables was red to green, black to black. But I would suggest that you do not trust me and go ahead and read your manual just to make sure you're doing the correct connection. Now use a friendly zip tie to secure all those cables. Then we just place the tail light back on and we're done with that connection. Now back to the radio, you will need an adapter for the antenna, and this is the one that I'm gonna be using, this one right here. Okay, let's go over everything. Interface adapter connected right here to the car. Basically, you just have to match all those. You can see I'm using this one, and this one, but I'm not using this one, neither this one. So then, basically, all you have to do is connect this other plug, and then all you have to do at the back is just this one, color match it with the one coming from the interface. You just color match all that. It looks like a mess, but basically it's just that. It's easy. It's white with white, green with green, etc. You just have to color match it. Here you have to select your channel. In this case I'm using a Sony, so it says, the manual says that is 4, the one that I have to select. That's the USB. I am not gonna be using it. This one is the backup camera, and I connected right here this line to my radio, and then all this is basically just power and a speaker. It's all that is. Right here I have the microphone that I connected up there. This is for the microphone. This one right here is the ones for the steering wheel controls. We didn't have to use those cables, so it's just that you just plug that in and that's it. This is the antenna. Of course, this is an adapter. This is the original connection that comes with this type of car, and that's it. Basically that's it. This right here is a USB cable that I'm gonna be using with this adapter, and I'm gonna use the existing USB connection that this truck has right here. That's the one that I'm gonna be using. So basically all I have to do is just plug that in, and then I will be able to use that USB. So that's it. Looks like a mess, looks like it is difficult, but it's not really. It's super simple. It's just common sense. Follow all the instructions on the box. The connectors just go one way, so there is no way that you can go wrong with those. And matching the color cables, unless you are color blind, this should be relatively easy. The rest is just common sense. Okay, so now if you want to install the radio without the interface, you can do it. But the thing is that you will have some problems with getting power from the original cables. GM is not gonna give you power to the radio if you do not use the interface. But there is a way to bypass that, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. Keep in mind that if you have the steering wheel controls, you are not going to be able to use them, and the warning signals are not going to be working. What I mean by that is that the blinker is not gonna sound. When you have your seat belt not on, it's not gonna sound. When you have the door open with the key in, it's not gonna sound. So all those sounds are not gonna be working. Keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and explain how to get power without the interface. So you're gonna need a cable like this. It is red, so that means power on only when the switch is on. If the switch is off, you're not gonna get power to the radio. Only when the switch is on. Under your dash, right beside your brake pedal, you will have this box with some fuses. Go ahead and uncover that box, and we're gonna find some connections that have power only when the switch is on. And of course, you can use a multimeter to check with the switch on, and then test it to see if you have the 12 volt. And then on the same connection, you're gonna go ahead and turn the switch off, and then test again to see if you don't have power. And then that's the connection that you want to connect to. If you don't want to be using a multimeter, or you don't know how to use it, just connect on the one that I'm showing right here on the video. Make sure that this cable is long enough to reach to the radio. Now on your radio, you should have a harness wire that comes from it. If you didn't have one, I'm pretty sure you already bought one, because you are gonna need that kind of cables anyway. And so after color matching all the cables, you should have one red cable that's coming from the radio, and this cable that we are running from that fuse box, we're gonna connect those two together. And as you can see, when I turn on the ignition switch, I have power to the radio. And this is how you will do it without the interface. If you don't want to buy the interface, if you don't care about the warning sounds, then go ahead and do it this way. But keep in mind that there will be no sound, warning sounds. I mean, the radio is gonna work, of course. So now, regardless how you did the installation, with the interface or without the interface, it is recommended that you use some kind of electric tape to secure all the cables to make it look nice, to make the job looks nice. Now get all the cables inside the dash and secure your radio. After getting the radio and the AC control secured in place, go ahead and put that cover back on, and be careful, be gentle with it. Otherwise, you could easily, again, break any of those plastics that are super cheap. And just like that, you have a new radio and a backup camera installed. Now enjoy it.